Most gardeners lose their seedlings before they even sprout, and they don't realize it. The seeds aren't bad, the light isn't the problem. Watering hasn't even started yet. The outcome is already decided the moment you fill your trays with soil. If the soil is wrong, your seedlings are doomed from day one. Thin stems, pale leaves, weak roots, and no grow light, no fertilizer, no miracle product will fully fix that later. I learned this the hard way, and today I want to save you from repeating the same mistake. I'm going to walk you through exactly how I prepare soil for tomato and pepper seedlings so they grow thick, sturdy, and healthy right from the start. This isn't theory. This is what I've used year after year in my own garden, and it works. A lot of people think, I'll just buy a bag of seed starting mix from the store. It says it's for seedlings, so it must be fine. I used to think the same. You open the bag, fill the containers, sow the seeds. Everything looks okay at first. Then about a week later, the seedlings stretch. The stems get thin. The leaves turn light green. Roots stay small. By the second week, problems show up. Damping off, weak growth, constant stress. Then you start scrambling. More light, emergency feeding, repotting. All of that effort, and the real problem was the soil from the very beginning. Good soil for tomatoes and peppers has to meet 4 requirements at the same time. If even one is missing, seedlings struggle. It must be loose. It must allow air to reach the roots. It must be moderately nutritious, not overloaded, and it must have the right pH. For tomatoes, the ideal pH is around 6.0 to 6.5. For peppers, right around 6.0. When soil is too acidic, roots simply don't work properly. Nutrients aren't absorbed the way they should. Seedlings fall behind immediately, stems stay thin, growth slows down. That's why I never use store-bought soil as my only base. Most commercial mixes are peat-based. They're very light, often too acidic, and the pH is rarely adjusted well enough. Roots don't develop properly in them, especially during the first critical weeks. My base is what I call native garden soil. Clean soil from my own garden, taken from an area without disease or pests, where vegetables have grown before. This gives structure, beneficial microorganisms, and a familiar environment for roots. But native soil alone is too heavy for seedlings, so it always needs to be improved. The next key component is compost or well-aged manure. And this is extremely important. It must be fully decomposed. If compost smells fresh, grassy, or warm, it is dangerous for seedlings. It can burn roots and trigger disease. Compost isn't there to overfeed seedlings. Its job is to make the soil alive, loose, and biologically active. In living soil, roots branch out immediately, and plants grow stronger without stress. Peat moss can be useful, but only with caution. It makes the mix lighter and helps retain moisture. The soil doesn't compact, and roots can breathe. But nearly all peat moss is acidic. If you don't neutralize it, peat becomes your enemy. That's why I always balance it with wood ash or dolomitic lime to bring the pH back to a safe range. Another excellent addition is coco coir, especially if your soil tends to be heavy. Coco coir improves aeration, keeps moisture even, and makes transplanting easier. I've noticed that when I include it, seedlings grow more evenly. Leaves stay deep green, stems are thick, and roots look healthy and clean. Now let's talk about looseners. Seedling soil should never turn into a solid block after watering. That's a recipe for root suffocation. I add perlite or vermiculite, about 10% of the total volume. These materials hold moisture, distribute nutrients evenly, and allow air to reach the roots. If you don't have perlite or vermiculite, you can use river sand, but it must be washed and heat treated to kill pathogens. This small step makes a big difference. It helps roots grow without rot or disease. Nutrition is the next key point, and this is where many gardeners make a serious mistake. They think more fertilizer means faster growth. That's not true. Excess nutrients are just as harmful as deficiency. When roots get overloaded, they stop functioning properly. Seedlings can get burned, stems become soft, and growth becomes unstable. That's why I stick to precise amounts. Wood ash is essential. It lowers acidity and provides potassium, phosphorus, and trace elements. For about 2.5 gallons of soil mix, I add 2 teaspoons of fine wood ash. That's enough to stabilize the soil and support early root development. Phosphorus is critical for roots. I use superphosphate, 1 teaspoon per 2.5 gallons of mix. That amount supports active root growth without overwhelming the plant. Potassium strengthens stems and improves overall resilience. I use potassium sulfate, 1 teaspoon per 2.5 gallons of soil. It absorbs well, doesn't acidify the soil, and strengthens plant tissue. If the mix contains peat or if you know your soil tends to be acidic, I add a small amount of dolomitic lime. It provides calcium and magnesium and balances pH. Calcium is especially important for tomatoes. It affects root health and future fruit quality. The key is moderation, no excess. Now let me describe the full recipe as a simple process you can repeat. I take 2 parts native garden soil, 2 parts well-aged compost or manure, 1 part peat moss, 1 part sand or coco coir. I mix everything thoroughly by hand or with a shovel until the texture is even and loose. For every 2.5 gallons of this base mix, I add 2 teaspoons of wood ash, 1 teaspoon of superphosphate, and 1 teaspoon of potassium sulfate. If needed, a small amount of dolomitic lime. Then I mix everything again very thoroughly. Fertilizers must be evenly distributed. Seedlings hate concentrated pockets. When roots hit a hot spot, burns and disease follow immediately. I use this mix every year, and the result is always the same. Dense seedlings, thick stems, deep green leaves, strong root systems. They tolerate transplanting easily, recover quickly in the garden, and grow steadily all season without constant intervention. Now let me point out common mistakes I see all the time. People take store-bought soil, add fertilizers by eye, and assume everything will be fine. In reality, some seeds sprout, some don't. Roots grow unevenly, or there's too much ash and phosphate. The seedlings look green, but the roots are weak, stems are soft, and plants stretch. I've made those mistakes myself. That's why I always respect measurements and watch how plants respond. Another common error is skipping looseners. The surface dries out while the bottom stays wet. Roots suffocate, seedlings stretch and weaken. Perlite, vermiculite, or sand solve this problem permanently. Here's a small tip. After mixing the soil, I sometimes let it sit loosely for a couple of days. This allows microorganisms to activate and the mix to stabilize. Seeds germinate more evenly. By the second week, you'll see the difference. Uniform growth, thick stems, dark green leaves, and strong roots. If you want seedlings that don't need rescuing later, everything starts here. Soil isn't just dirt, it's the foundation. If this was helpful, support the channel Garden of Good Luck. Hit the like button, subscribe so you don't miss future videos, and share this with fellow gardeners. Strong seedlings to everyone, and a great growing season ahead.